Hello, everybody, and wow, okay, let's start that again. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. In this video today, we're going to be talking all about Daniel Farke's comments after the game, and then we're going to get into a bit of a relegation update, because I think when you look at the table at this moment in time, and they talked about it a bit on Sky Sports as well today, I think the relegation battle is starting to take shape now. I think certain teams that maybe we thought were going to start to climb out of it have started to climb out of it. And I think you're starting to see the breed of teams that are actually going to be in the fight for the long haul, for the whole season. And I think there's a number of teams there. And having watched the games today, actually, quite a positive set of results for Leeds United today. Obviously, Wolves losing, which I think Wolves have got to go down. If Wolves don't go down, I think Leeds are in serious bother. But Wolves lost again against Villa. Fantastic result for us. Obviously, West Ham losing to Liverpool as well was a really, really good result. And actually, a result I was surprised at with obviously the recent performances of West Ham and recent performances of Liverpool. But nice that West Ham lost that game as well, and a bit of a lifeless performance on them, which we'll talk about as well. And obviously, Forest losing as well, although I'm not convinced that they're going to be in it. However, there is teams like Fulham and stuff that won this weekend away at Spurs and are starting to pull away from the pack as well. So we'll talk all about the relegation battle and how it's now lining up and where we're gonna get to, really. Of course, naturally, if you are watching live, get your comments in. Even if you're watching after the fact, get your comments in below. I do read them all. We are getting quite a few comments at the moment in time, so I can't unfortunately respond to all the comments, but I do genuinely read them all. Like, there's not. I do honestly read them all. So yeah, leave your comments in, and obviously if you've got comments in the live chat, obviously we know we go through them as always. And also, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff massively helps the channel, boosts it in the algorithm, lets other people that like this sort of content see it too. I hate doing promotions. I hate saying about liking and subscribing, but it just gets me more likes and subscriptions because I like, and that's how it is really. So apologies for that, but yeah, it's the way it is. Anyway, let's move on to, and I wanted to talk actually around Daniel Farke's comments, because I think what's screaming at everybody at this moment in time regarding Daniel Farke and Leeds United is we played the 5-3-2/352 in the second half. It worked really well. Are Leeds United going to stick to it? Is that what Leeds United are going to do? And Daniel Farke talked all about this, and he said basically that potentially we are going to change. For the reason he went to a 3-5-2, he says we've been able to do a 3-5-2 all season basically, but the reason we went to a 3-5-2 is because it allowed us to build out from the back in a much more creative way and be able to get numbers to build out from the back properly. And then that's the reason we went to it. The whole thing that worries me regarding this is, and I don't know if you guys all feel this, but my honest feeling at this moment in time, it's like I'm just looking at it going, is he going to stick to it on Wednesday against Chelsea? Like, you watched Chelsea today and they were fantastic, but what I'm talking about here is, are Leeds United going to stick to this 5-3-2? It worked fantastic against Man City, but there's an underlying feeling with me, and I don't know what you guys think, and I'd actually be really interested to know what you guys think about this. But I'd be really interested to see what you guys think regarding this 5-3-2. Do we all think that he's going to stick to it, or do you think he's going to go back to type? And like I was talking to my brother the other day, and actually he was saying that, is it like, obviously the 5-3-2 worked well, but that doesn't mean that's a permanent solution. We talked about this yesterday in terms of like, yes, that was brilliant for 45 minutes, but you potentially caught City doing something you didn't expect. And potentially it worked, but it doesn't mean it's going to work every single week. And actually, is it more about the core principles that we saw from the formation in the second half, that we saw that almost created the performance in the second half that we did? Is it about the fact that we bypassed the press, we went long? Is it about the fact that we were physical and we created duels in the game? Is it about the fact that we pressed really high and we didn't just let them have possession? Is it about the fact that we didn't do slow build-up out from the back as opposed to just the formation? Because the formation is the obvious talking point, but was that the only reason that obviously happened? And as I said, but fundamentally, I still think that the 5-3-2, as someone who was passionately against the idea of it, I'm still someone now looking at it going, I've got to see it. I've got to see it on Wednesday night. I've got to see if it's going to work again against Chelsea. This is the best 45 minutes for me we've played in a long time. In fact, we won the game, obviously, the second half 2-1. Obviously, game state provides that as well. But we did win the second half 2-1 playing like that. And it's the first time we've won a second half since the opening game of the season. So there was obviously a pattern there that shows that we did do something better in the second half. So it's going to be, can Daniel Farke stick to it? And will he do that? But I don't know, I'm on the fence with it, I really am. Easy says, the only positive about yesterday is some Leeds fans are realising the players are not as bad as Farke has made them out to look. Well, I think there's something in that, Easy, I really do. I think there is something in that, in terms of, I think on my behalf, definitely, I probably didn't realise if you turn it more into a physical battle, then you're going to see the best out of the players. I still genuinely believe he's it, and I know we probably disagree on this, but I still genuinely believe that on the ball, when we've got the ball at our feet, we are one of the worst. We are one of the bottom 3 teams in the division. I don't think we're good on the ball at all. I think we're terrible at building out from the back. I think we loot with the amount of misplaced passes that we have when we build through the thirds. It doesn't work. We've got to bypass the press. We can't play through midfield. We're just not good enough on the ball to do that. But what I probably didn't realise, and probably what I didn't bear in mind when I said that, which is where I will give you credit, because obviously you called this, is that if you play a different style that doesn't require Leeds United to build through the thirds and be really good in possession, and you do go long and you utilise the long ball and you bypass the press, then actually this Leeds United team can really compete at this level, because it can compete on a physical level. And I think what was interesting about yesterday's game is, obviously we compete on a physical level, but it also, I don't know if you guys felt this, but we're taking set pieces when we did that system in the second half. And I'm looking at the set pieces being really excited before we have a corner, because I'm looking at it going, we've got a real chance to score a goal here. Because you look at it and you go, you've got Nemec on the pitch, is over 6 foot and good in the air, by the way. Calvert-Lewin knows over 6 foot and really good in the air. Biol's really good in there and 6'4". Rodon this season been fantastic in the air. He's over 6 foot. And Strout is 6'4", and he's pretty good in the air as well. So you've got five players there who are fantastic in the air. And then I'm looking at going further forward and thinking, when Stat gets back fit, which potentially will be for the Chelsea game, he potentially goes into midfield, and then you've got 6 players out of your 10 outfield players that are all over like 6'2", but also not just over 6'2", really quite good in the air. So you're looking at it going, we are a massive threat then from set pieces. And if we turn it into a horrible game and we don't just play and we don't play into their hands by try to play a really beautiful style that I don't think it's that beautiful anyway, because I find it kind of boring, this slow, methodical build-up. And I found it kind of boring at times in the Championship as well. But actually, if we turn it into a physical battle and make the ball basically head tennis, we should have a real strength. And as I said, when you get a sort of a free kick on the halfway line, you think, well, just put it straight in the box. Let's try win a header at the back post, head it back across and see if we can score a goal. Yes, it might not be pretty, but it's still exciting. Like, as I said, every time we got a set piece in that second half, I was really excited because I felt something was going to happen, and something did happen. Like, I think Biel had a chance in the second half as well with his header. So, as I said, not only does this 5-back, for me, allow Leeds United to play a certain style and maybe get the best out of certain players like the wing-backs and the strikers and Biol, etc., like we've talked about. But it also allows us to get more physical players on the pitch, and it also allows us then to be a massive threat from set pieces, which I think is exciting naturally. Jack says, evening Scott, marched on together. Evening to you too, Jack. Nice to see you in the chat. Easy says, I think Farke will beat his Premier League record of 15 straight defeats if Leeds fans let him. He won't, mate, because he'll be sacked. And also, obviously, I think we've got to be careful here, because it's not Leeds fans' fault that we're losing games. Like, as I say, we always say this on the channel. Like, the whole point of these conversations is that we're all Leeds United fans, and we're all trying to get the best out of, trying to find a way to get the best solutions for Leeds United. That's what this show's about. That's what we talk about daily. So it's all about how can you do that. And I think people just have different ways of getting to that destination, and what the best way to do is naturally is going to be a different solution. Some people would stick with a 4, some people go to a 5-back. And that's the way it is. Neil Davidson says, I think we have a lot of problem with the final ball and we panic in the box. Yeah, we do, mate. I think we haven't got top quality forwards, in my opinion. I don't think we've got real quality up front at all. I look at the other teams, even you look at Wolves, who've got Strand Larsen up front, who scored, like 13, 14 Premier League goals last season. We ain't got anybody who's going to score 14 Premier League goals this season. I know Nemec's on a good run, but I look at Strand Larsen and the quality that's there with him. Like, obviously, Strand Larsen was linked to Newcastle this summer for £60 million. Like, realistically, Nemec is not getting linked to Newcastle next summer for 60 million quid, is it, if we're being totally honest? So yeah, I think that's something to bear in mind. Michael says, hi Scott, Farke doesn't like playing out of possession. He better not start against Chelsea with a 4-3-3. Mate, I completely agree. If he starts, I'm not Farke out, as you guys all know. I'm not there. But what I will say is, if he was to start with a 4-3-3, with Strout, with Aronson on the right hand side, in a 4-3-3, after seeing what we saw at the weekend, I don't even know what I'll think. And I think the worst thing about this is we're playing a home game, obviously. And obviously everyone sees the team an hour and 15 before the game. And I think if everybody looking at their phone at it'd be 7 o'clock, because the game kicks off at 8:15. At 7 o'clock, when everyone looks at that phone and that team sheet comes out, if that comes out and we're playing a 4-3-3 with Aronson on the right hand side, I think there'll be an explosion in Ellen Road. There won't be, but what I'm trying to say is that's a metaphorical scenario. Like, people will be absolutely fuming, and I think it'll zap the whole atmosphere of the Chelsea game, which should for Leeds United. Like, remember, we've got a massive rivalry with Chelsea. This should be a huge game for Leeds United. There should be a massive belting atmosphere. It's a night game. We're playing against one of our massive rivals we haven't played in years now. We haven't played in 3 years. We need points desperately. The atmosphere should be booming, but I think it'll zap the life out of it if we go in and we see a 4-3-3 with Brendan Aronson on the right-hand side. Easy says, some are suggesting Farke has the dressing room. I totally disagree. The players have borne criticism from fans all season because of Farke. Farke has lost most thinking fans, never mind players. I disagree. I think the second half proved... The second half, they run like dogs yesterday, did the Leeds United team. I completely disagree. I've always disagreed with the point that he's lost the players. He hasn't lost the players. For me, he's made a lot of critical errors. I mean, we've still now lost 6 out of our last 7, so let's not pretend everything's rosy, which I know is easy not doing. But also, I can watch the game and look at, sort of, in my opinion, look at how the players are playing for the manager and look at the work rate that they're putting in. He hasn't lost the players. I've never seen the game at the weekend. I was away, but with how well we played in the second half means nothing. It's a result that keeps managing a job, and unfortunately, with the games coming up, I think you're going to say it's still going to be tricky or something like that, presumably. Yeah, well, truthfully, mate, performances, I disagree with this, and I've said this all season. If Leeds United play terribly and lose, that is worse than Leeds United play well than lose. This is always the case, because... I'll give you an example. Liverpool at the start of the season were winning games. Liverpool won the first 5 games of the season. And I'm sure a lot of you watched Liverpool in them first 5. They were terrible. They didn't deserve to win any of them first 5, in my personal opinion, when I watched all 5 of them games. Because I think I've nearly watched every Liverpool game this year. But them first 5 games, they were awful. And eventually it caught up with them. They started losing games. So you can't... Winning when you play bad is good, but not consistently. And in the same breath, if you're losing and playing well, eventually the results will turn, in my personal opinion. I think you've seen this throughout time. So I disagree with this. I always disagree with this. If you continue to play well, for me, the results eventually will come, usually. Not always, but usually. And it's better to play well and lose than it is play crap and lose. It really is. Hence Sid, I think that's how you say it. This is all about our shocking defending. If we sorted that, we would have at least 4 points more than we currently have. And I think the other thing about 4 points, mate, is that we've lost 4 points now in 90-plus minute scenarios. We lost a point away at Fulham, which now could be a massive point with where it would be in comparison to Fulham. We'd have dragged them much more in than they currently are. We lost 2 points against Bournemouth, obviously conceding late against them. And we lost another point at the weekend in a 90-plus minute scenario. You had them, I think, were 15th. So, yeah. BMG says, nice to see you in the chat, BMG, as well. I haven't seen you for a few days. He says, I like the 3-5-2. Pro can play with DCL or Nemecha. Bornau might play. But what do we do with the wingers? Okafor, Nonto could play second strikers. James wing-back, Aronson. Well, I think with this, mate, I think naturally with every single system, players are going to have to suffer. And it can't always be like... oh, we can't get Aronson in the team, or we can't get James in the team properly, so we can't play that system. I just think if they don't fit the system, in my opinion, then that's sort of too bad. I personally think that Nonto potentially could play second striker. I definitely think Okafor can play second striker. But for me, I want Nemecha and DCL up front. I want to see what I saw in that second half. I don't really want to see Pro. I still, even in a 2 up front, I know people have said it might work. I still believe genuinely that it won't. I still don't think he's physical enough. And I think it'll help with a number 9 up there. But I still don't think he's good enough, and I don't think he offers what a Nemecha can do. So for me, it's Nemecha and DCL that should start. And if not, I would go Nemecha and Okafor. They'd be my 2 up front. I think that could be interesting. And if that means Aronson and James and etc. can't get in the team, that's just one of them things, mate, I think. On Wednesday, I personally don't mind if we play 4-3, but it has to be without Aronson. I disagree, mate. I want to see that 5-3-2. I want to see the 5-3-2. BL Road and Schrauk, inverted triangle. Ampadu, Tanaka and Aronson in the other triangle. Goodmanson and Bogle on wings. I don't want Ampadu, Tanaka and Aronson as a midfield 3, mate. I'd rather see Ampadu... I'd actually rather see Ampadu, Gruev and Tanaka as the midfield 3 and sort of Tanaka at the foot of the triangle like you were talking about, or at the top of the triangle. Oli on Tour says, Evening Scott needs to start with 5-2 on Wednesday with the same players that started the second half yesterday. I completely agree, mate. I think we've seen a formula yesterday that's upset teams and has worked. I think you stick with that formula now for me, personally. The change formation shows a new manager with the different ideas than 4-3 would have gained more points. I think you're right on that, Easy. I think you are right. I think, like, obviously yesterday we didn't pick up points, but I think if he'd have played the 5-3-2 or the 3-5-2, however you want to look at it, away at Forest or away at Burnley potentially, or away at Brighton, I think you'd have seen better than 3 straight losses in them games. So it couldn't have been any worse, could it? So there's that to say. It's hard to make this point in one post. 3-5-2 means some players have to play different roles. Wing-back options are Bogle, Gabby Goodmanson, Justin James, and I dare say Harrison. Yeah. 2 of Nemecha, DCL, Perot, Okafor, and Nonto can play striker. Strout, Biol, Road, and Bornau, potentially Ampadu at centre-backs options. Yeah, exactly, mate. I think I completely agree with you. I actually don't think, I know people are a bit worried that if one of the centre-halves goes down injured, that we don't really have any depth. I think that's the reason we bought Bornau. Look, people are slagging off Bornau, and they have done consistently. I almost don't know why he's hardly played. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he was bought if emergencies, and if we need another physical centre-back, so we don't have to play Ampadu in there. He was bought for that particular reason, and he just hasn't seen any time yet. Metro and DCL up top says SLY. Yes, I agree with that. If that goes back to a 4-3-3 on Wednesday, he probably needs to be sacked. Mate, I will be probably. As I always say, I can't tell how I'll feel, but I probably know. Like, if he goes back to, if Aronson's in the team and we're playing 4-3-3 and we get beat, I don't know where I'll be in the match reaction, and I don't even know if I'll do one. Okafor and either DCL or Nemecha for me, 5-2 is the way, 100%. I completely agree, Jack. I completely agree. I said all summer the back 5 wouldn't work, so maybe more than happy to eat my words. That's how I feel, Jack. I've always felt the five centre halves leaves you exposed either in midfield or the fullbacks don't get marked up, and I still think that could be a problem. I don't think this is the underlying solution. But I do think that it was better than I thought by a mile, and I do think I want to see it against Chelsea. Anyway, there's so many comments here, I'm forgetting to go through the actual notes, but oh well. So most players can be options somewhere except Aronson, who would have to play as an 8, really, where he'd be no good. Yeah, but to be honest, mate, do we want to see Aronson even in the team? Do you know what I mean? So I know Aronson doesn't particularly have a role in this system. I almost don't care. I'm actually glad. I don't want to see him in the team anyway. He's not good enough. Ampadu would be at the bottom of a triangle. Tanaka and Aronson up top. Aronson would be a false 10 with 2 up top, and he would have options to pass and create. Potentially, man. I just don't want to see Aronson in the team though. As I said, I'd rather have 2 double pivots in there of Gruev and Ampadu, and then sort of Tanaka as in the triangle at the top, if that makes sense. Easy says the so-called rivalry with Chelsea. When we have Farke is embarrassing. By the end of the game, Chelsea fans will be laughing at us. I hope not, mate, but, you know, maybe. I think slagging off Bornau is not as him of a player, but recruitment, but of the recruitment team, i.e. why did we buy him? If we go 3-5-2, there's more of a chance of him playing. Yeah, I agree. Maybe the reason we bought Bornau, mate, was because at some point we expected to end up in a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2. Maybe that was the plan, and therefore we needed a bit more centre-back cover. Because at the moment in time, obviously, it's looked like a horrendous signing. But in the same breath, I'll have said this: like if Roden and Strout went down injured, or Biol and Strout went down injured, then we'd need Bornau to play, wouldn't we? So for me, you've always needed 4 centre backs. No matter, definitely if you're playing with 3 centre backs, and even if you're playing with 2, for me, you still need 4 centre backs at the football club. So Bornau was just used as a 4th centre back, in my opinion. And that's how it was. Anyway, let's get into some more of... I want to get into some of Farke's comments as well from the game. So Farke talked a bit about in the aftermath. I'm sure probably a lot of you have seen this, but I want to sort of give a few of my takes on it. But basically, Farke said, and then we'll get back into some comments. I know there is some more coming in. But Farke basically said regarding the defensive situation on the left-hand side that when he was asked about it, how he felt that the left-hand side had behaved since he obviously changed it, because obviously that was important. He said, I cannot speak publicly because I will be banned for swearing. You ask yourself, what are we doing? And I think when we talk about this left-hand side, and I said this a lot, and there's a clip that I put out that's done quite well, actually, but the reason we're conceding down the left-hand side, for me, has never been anything to do with Goodmanson, which I think he's been scapegoated for. I don't think it's been much to do with Pascal Strout either. I think at times Okafor hasn't tracked his man, which I think has caused us problems. But I think the main issue down the left-hand side has always been that there's a gap between Goodmanson and Strout, and it's a structural problem. And they're not beating Goodmanson on the outside. It's always been on the inside of Goodmanson in that inverted run, and that's caused us all sorts of problems, that inverted run. And I think when I look at it structurally, that has been the issue. It's not been the fact that, Goodmanson's been defending poorly, or Okafor's been that hideous defensively. I don't think he's been brilliant defensive, but not that hideous. It's always been a structural issue. And I think as soon as you go to a 5-back, that gap is plugged. And therefore, people can't attack in that space between your left back and your left centre half. And that's plugged the gap. And I think it was always a structural issue. So it annoys me when Farke comes out and sort of scapegoated Goodmanson and Okafor by taking him out of the team and saying it was basically their fault. Because, as I said, I think it was his fault, personally. I don't think it was their fault. I think it was his fault. Anyway, let's get into some more comments. AO has been devalued by Farke. I agree with that. I do agree with that. BMG says off topic slightly, but I think Gruev proved some people wrong again. Came in against one of the best teams and did a very solid job. I agree, mate. I thought Gruev played really well, and I think sometimes, and this just frustrates me at sometimes. Obviously, in this fan base, naturally you've got. We like certain players. Naturally, some players have done more for the football club, which is why. But one thing I want to make sure we create on this channel is something where I don't like Aronson. I don't want him to be in the team. But say on the off chance that Daniel Farke plays a 4-3-3 against Chelsea and Aronson starts on the right-hand side and scores a hat-trick. This will not happen, but say in a fantasy world this does. I won't come on here and say that Aronson shouldn't be in a team and that was a bad management call. If it works, it works. All I want to do is the best for Leeds United. But in the same breath, if it goes well for Leeds United, and it's something I disagree with to start with, if it works, I'll say it how it is. And I'll say, look, that he got that right. As I said, I didn't want a 5-back. He changed to a 5-back. It worked. And now I want a 5-back because I've seen the vision. And that's always been the situation. And when Farke makes good calls, we'll give him credit. And when he makes bad calls, we'll give him credit. And I think that's the situation. And you're right, Gruev hasn't got any sort of plaudits, really. I haven't seen at all online for his performance. Yeah, if he'd have had a bad game, you know everyone would have bitten at his neck. And I think that's just unfair sometimes. Because, yes, Gruev's probably not good enough for the Premier League. But when he plays well, and he did play well at the weekend, he definitely deserves credit. So there you are. Ollie on Tor says, I agree with what Connor said on One Leeds the other day. If it was Strout be-all injured, I think Farke would rather put Ampadu next to Rodon rather than play ball now. If that's the case, mate, then it was a waste of time buying ball now. But maybe I disagree. I'm not sure I agree with that. BMG says he does agree with that, but I'm not sure. Would you sell Ampadu during the winter transfer? I would. He's been the highest value. And we would have Stack to take over. No, I won't sell Ampadu, mate. There's a few reasons I won't sell Ampadu. We've always been better when Ampadu's on the pitch, in my opinion. I think his captaincy goes massively unnoticed. I think he's a really good captain to this football club, and his sort of leadership skills on the pitch, I think, are massively devalued because I don't think you see it all the time. And I also think with Ethan Ampadu as well is I think he's starting to play better. I called Ampadu out after the Forest game and I said he hasn't been playing well enough. He's not been tracking his runners. But more importantly, of all the things that was annoying with Ampadu, he wasn't being physical enough in games. And when we see the best Ethan Ampadu, he's physical, he's tight to people and he's getting stuck in. And then in the last 2 games, I've seen exactly that. I've seen him much more tight to players. I thought he was brilliant against Villa again, much more physical, getting in the duel, getting stuck in. And that's when it is at his best. And I thought it was like that against Man City as well. So I won't sell him because I want him in the team at this moment in time, and I also won't sell him because I think his leadership issues his leadership is massively undersold. I hope the Man City games makes the 49ers realise we only have one problem. It's nothing to do with the players. Fans think Farke has bought himself more time. I think the game has exposed him. The only thing he has done, mate, and where I will agree with you, is that I think he's almost potentially done his own bed. Or made his own bed with this. Like, I think that if he showed at the weekend that if we play a certain system that he hasn't played so far this season, but if he plays that system, it can work. He showed that. If he now doesn't do that anymore and goes back to sort and goes back to 4-3 and it doesn't work, literally the world will be screaming at him. Not even Leeds fans. Everyone in the world will be screaming, why did you do that? You had a system that worked. You didn't play it. Now you've gone back to it and it hasn't worked. And I think he will make his own bed. So I think the Chelsea game is massive. But I still genuinely believe that we will have a different manager after the Liverpool game. I still, to be honest with you, I watched Chelsea today. They were fantastic. I still think we will lose the Chelsea game. And I still think we'll probably lose the Liverpool game. And if we lose them 2, that'll still be, what, 8 losses in 9, and he's going to be sacked, I think. So I still think Daniel Farke is going to be sacked anyway. But I do think that he's potentially exposed himself a bit, like you said, because he showed that actually without playing a different system can work with these players. JB Leeds says he's already said he will not change formation when we are losing, and that's the problem. Yeah, no, well, he did do it at the weekend, mate, when we were losing. BMG says going to a 3-5-2 does weirdly mean that some players are more likely to get are more likely to get used, namely Pro, who could come in for DCL or Nemecha, and Bornau, who is next in line for Strout, Rodon, Biol, if Biol are out. Yeah, I agree. I still don't want Pro in the team, mate. I really don't. I don't think he's up to it at all. With the 4-3, it's hard to see how Pro and Bornau get any minutes. It is, mate. It would require injuries, but I'm not sure I want to see either of them in the team anyway, to be honest. Scott, Stack is a class above Ampadu. I want to see them both in the team, though. That's my thing. I want the midfield three. Longstaff's out for 4 to 6 weeks anyway, people. So he's not going to be in the team for a long time anyway, till, after Christmas now. So the midfield three, in my opinion, should be full strength at this moment. Should be Ampadu in the 6 for me, and then Stack and Tanaka as your 2-8s. If we're playing a 4-3-3, if we're playing a 5-3-2, your midfield three again is Ampadu, Stack, and Tanaka. That's the midfield I want to see. And even if Longstaff was back at this moment in time, I think Longstaff's played quite poor for weeks now. I think that's our best midfield at this moment. So I still want to see them. So even if Stack's better than Ampadu, fine, but I want them both in. So, it's a tricky one. It's delusional thinking if anyone wants to keep this manager. Mate, people can have their own opinions. Like, as I said, people want to get to the mountain, but they want to get to the mountain in different ways, and that's just how it is. Agreed, Scott. I think the writing on the wall for him, regardless of the second half on Saturday, I do, mate. I still believe, as I said, that he will be sacked after the Liverpool game. I think I've said it for about 2 weeks now. I think I have. I still think he's gone. I still think he's gone. I think he did good substitutions at half time at the weekend, which we've talked about, and that worked well. And I hope he carries on doing that, because I don't want him to lose his job fundamentally. I want him to stay and I want it to work. But I still don't think that it's going to work. I still think he's probably going to go along, to be honest. I think if Farke goes back to 4-3 and it fails, he will be in trouble. But what if he goes to 3-5-2 and we play rubbish in the next 2 games? This is the thing, BMG. It's not just about the formation. And I've said this a few times, even in this video. It's not just about the formation. It's what we did in the formation that made the formation so good. It was the characteristics that we provide in that game that made the game so good. It was the press from the front that worked fantastically well. It was not using the midfield in build-up. It was going over the top, going into the strikers and playing off the number 9s, going long. They're the structural things that were different in the second half to even what we did in the first half. And even when we've played well this season, even in a 4-back formation, again, I'll lie the Newcastle game, I'll lie the Bournemouth game. It's always been when we've gone long. That's when we've got the best. So what is baffling to me at this moment in time is we were doing well going long, and then all of a sudden he went, we're going to stop going long and we're going to start playing through the lines. And he did that away at Brighton, it didn't work. And he did it away at Forest, it didn't work. I don't know why he chose that lineup and them systems in them games. If he'd have gone long to Nemecha in both them games, or Calvert-Lewin in the Brighton game and Nemecha in the Forest game, I think we'd have got a different outcome. I don't know why he's doing that. I really don't. Farke, interested to say that we played a 3-5-2 in games this season, but it's been unnoticed. He also said it's not simple enough to change to it from the start of games. I don't think it is either, to be honest. I don't think it is. I don't think that it's like, oh, if we play 3-5-2, all our problems are going to be solved immediately. I actually do agree with that. There's more to it than just playing a different system, as we talked about. JB Lee says, I will be honest, Forest and West Ham have hard games coming up after the next 2 or 3. Providing a new manager, we may have a chance. I agree. We're going to talk about the relegation battle. And we're meant to talk about it in this video. I'm going to get onto it because I'm going to leave these Farke quotes now. But I actually do think that West Ham are in a bit of trouble. I watched them today and I thought they were hopeless. I really did. I thought they were awful. And I thought Liverpool were there to be took. I really did. I thought Liverpool were there for the taking. I've actually listened to a few West Ham fans after the game as well talk to see if they thought the same as what I did, and they did, which I thought was interesting. The rumours going round that James is injured. Yeah, that's not the worst. I don't want anyone to be injured, but he's not the worst player to be injured if someone is. Don't know if it's true. I wonder if he's forced to go to a 5-3-2. I still don't. He'd play Aronson, mate, when he on the right, or Nonto. He'd definitely play Aronson, let's be honest. The other factor which affects Farke's fate is whether there is a sustainable replacement available. Brendan Rodgers is probably the only current one, but Thomas Frank maybe soon. Yeah, I think that's got to be a sure thing, BMG. I think there's got to be, if they sack Daniel Farke and there isn't a replacement lined up, that is absolute negligence in my personal opinion, because everybody knew going into the season, even the 49ers themselves knew going into the season, that Daniel Farke's Premier League record is appalling. It is. There's no doubt about that. It's absolutely awful. Regardless of what we think of the Norwich team and how bad it was, which it was bad, it's still horrendous. And then we went into the season and they thought about sacking him, they didn't do. So they should have had a shortlist in the summer, which I think they will have had. And they should have been talking to these shortlists for the whole season so far. And they should have a name now, or they should have a list now of probably the top 2 candidates who are ready to go if Leeds United do sack Daniel Farke. And if they don't have someone lined up and there isn't a new manager within sort of 28, 48 hours after we sack Daniel Farke, that is an absolute joke. If we go on this route like we did after we sacked Marsh, where we go with Skabala or it would be maybe Johnny Howson or Gardner for the next few games with an interim, that's absolute negligence, that. It really is. And that needs to be called out, and I will call that out if it was to happen. Farke bought himself more time, good man. I presume you're not a Leeds fan, potentially. Or, I mean, you might be, I'm just guessing. I get you about the structural things about 3-5-2, but what if those things get spanked? Yeah, well, I exactly, mate, because I think we caught City cold playing that system, and I don't think they expect us to do it at all. So I agree. I think there's every chance that Maresca thinks Leeds United could well go to a 3-5-2, and what system changes are we going to make that Man City didn't make to neutralise that in the best way possible? Because these are good coaches. They don't just they see something and they adapt to it naturally. So yeah, I agree. 60-57, what will it take for some fans to turn on Farke? What has he achieved at the top level? Well, what will it take? Well, as I said, I think if we lose against Chelsea, it'll be interesting to see how the fans turn. I also think, to be honest, mate, a lot of people want the manager sacked anyway. I think I'm in the minority. I have for a while. I think I've been in the minority probably since that Forest game with Daniel Farke, to be honest. I do agree with Easy about Pro. He could be very useful sub to play alongside DCL or Nemecha. Have I missed a chat? Oh yeah, Scott, please stop judging Pro. We'll just wait for him to get a run of games in the new system. All right, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, my opinion with Pro is he's just not. His physical attributes in this team are not good enough. I watch him and he just can't keep up to the pace of the league, in my opinion. We've seen him in a few games so far this season, maybe not enough to judge. But I saw enough last season for me to see it and go, that's the sort of player for me that won't adapt to the Premier League. I just don't think it'll work. I might be proved wrong. I don't think I will be, actually. I think I'll get this one right. But I don't see Pro working in the Premier League because I don't think, on a physical standpoint, I don't think he's strong enough. I don't think he's quick enough. I don't think he's understanding the game happens quick enough. I don't think he's a quick enough thinker, a sharp enough thinker. I think he's a good finisher. In the box, in and around the box. I think he's got a good outside shot from the edge of the box. I don't think he reads the game that well, though. I just think he's a good finisher, and that is it. And people might go, that's enough, but it's no good if you don't get any chances because he's in the wrong spot all the time. So it's a tricky one. I also don't think he's a good presser either. I did read a lot that a lot of the higher-ups have flown in the last 2 games, could be telling. Yeah, I think the 49ers will be having conversations about Farke. As I said, it'd be absolutely negligible if they're not. And I'm Daniel Farke and I'm still saying that. So they should be having conversations. Anyway, let's talk a bit about the relegation battle because we have titled the video that, so we probably should talk about it a bit. This here is the relegation battle at this moment in time. And as you can see, this weekend, there's been quite a dramatic change in my personal opinion. You've got Wolves obviously still sat on 2 points. I think we all think they're going to go down. Burnley obviously still on 10. They lost away at Brentford. We obviously lost at Man City. West Ham lost to Liverpool. Forest lost against Brighton. All the bottom 5 lost. But what you're starting to see now is there's starting to be a bit of a gap between the 16th place and 15th place Fulham. There's that 5-point gap now. And normally I'd look at it and go, and we're obviously 6 points off Fulham as well. And normally I'd look at that and go, oh, it's only 5 points. You can make 5 points up, and that might be true. The only thing I will say to that is it's going to be a while until Leeds United pick up another 5 points, in my opinion, and that would require Fulham to continue to lose every single game. So I think it's starting to. I think 5 points when you're relegation candidates is a lot of points to make up. I think it's a lot of points because naturally the reason you're down there is because you don't win very often. So we're not winning all the time. So you're not picking up points week in, week out. Like at times last year, I think we were 5 points behind Sunderland at the start of the year. But because we're winning basically nearly every week, naturally you can a few losses for Sunderland, it's made up. But because you're never winning at the bottom of the league, which obviously goes with the territory of being down there, naturally you are in a position where it's going to be a lot to make up. So I think what I'm trying to say with this is I think the relegation battle is starting to take shape. I really do. And I think Forest will get out of it under Sean Dyche. I think they've got a pretty good squad, to be honest. I know they lost today against Brighton, but I think Brighton are quite a good team. So I think they'll be absolutely fine. I honestly think the bottom four will be a stands. And even if there's a new manager that comes in, I still think that will be the bottom four. Might not be in that order, and let's hope it's not in that bottom order, because obviously that sends Leeds United down. But I think that will be the bottom four. I think truthfully, Wolves will go. I think Burnley will go. And then I think it'll be a battle between us and West Ham as to who gets that third spot. And I've thought it for a few weeks now. And obviously West Ham have started to pick up a few results. They beat Newcastle, which was a really good win. They beat Burnley, but let's be honest, it was at home. So you'd expect them to beat Burnley at home, in my opinion. And then they drew away at Bournemouth in a game that they should have lost about 12-0. And then I watched them today, and they are lifeless, that team. They really are. They're terrible. Like, we can talk about how bad Leeds United are. We sort of put up a bit of fight against Man City. I watched that West Ham game against Liverpool, and Liverpool were bad. Like, I know Liverpool can be really good at times, and if they turn the switch, they can sort of blow teams away like we saw last season. They were bad today. They were good, short of confidence. If West Ham had gone 1-0 up in the game and took it to Liverpool, I think they'd have won the game. They were there for the taking. They honestly were. And West Ham just couldn't get anything going at all. They ended the game, I think, with 0.32 XG created. Basically created nothing all game. And I look at it and go, it gives me a bit of optimism. It gives me a bit of optimism, because I was starting to think we're out of this. Like, it's West Ham are starting to pick up results. Forest are starting to pick up results. Maybe I'm wrong about this West Ham thing. I don't think I am. I really don't think I am. I think they're bad. I think they're really bad. They really struggle at home. They've won 2 games at home all season. And they were obviously the Newcastle game, who at that point when they played Newcastle hadn't won a away game for 7 months. So they obviously they drew with Leeds United as well. And obviously they beat Burnley. But in that first half, Burnley were comfortably a better team and played them off the park, if I'm being honest. So I think West Ham are in this fight. I have for a while. They've obviously lost Paqueta now for a few games. He's going to miss the next few games. And actually, when you look at West Ham games, and we talk about, obviously, on this channel all the time, how bad our fixtures are. And I still think our fixtures are bad. But listen to the next West Ham fixtures coming up. So they've got Man United away next. Then they've got Brighton away. Then they've got Villa at home. And then they've got Man City away. Them fixtures, you could noticeably see, for me, West Ham losing all 4 of them. Maybe they won't. But I think it's plausible that they'll lose all 4 of them games. So yes, Leeds United are bad at this moment. We are. But we're still in with a shot. We're level on points with West Ham, who were obviously 17th in the division. And we've actually gained an extra goal this week. So we're actually better off than we were this time last week, having played a much harder fixture, in my opinion. And I think West Ham can be dragged into this. I still think that. That win against West Ham was massively important, because had we lost that game, West Ham would now be on 14 points and we'd be on 8, and we'd be absolutely knackered. We'd be rotted in second bottom in the league, I think, without probably a fighting chance of getting out. But we did win that game. And we are now. I think we are. I think if you're a West Ham fan, you look at what we did against Man City, and you look at how lifeless they were against Liverpool, and you're worried. I think you are. I think you are worried. And as I said, they are as bad as it gets for me in this division. I think they've got decent players. I still think Paqueta's a good player. I still think Bowen's a good player. Wilson's a decent striker at this level. He will score goals, as we've seen in the last few weeks. But I can see them being dragged into it, and I still think it's going to be a battle between us and them. And obviously, we've still got to play them at West Ham, which will be a tricky game, naturally. But if we can go down there and win, I think we could see I think it could be a really interesting situation, and I do think we can drag West Ham into it. I really do. I think everything that we pride ourselves on being good at, and that we think we're good at, in terms of physical presence and the way we can press, and if we're playing well this season, we're set up in the right way, and the way we press, and all these good things that we know Leeds United are good at. I think West Ham are the complete opposite. I think they're terrible at all them things. I don't think they're physically strong. I don't think they've got good runners. I think Potts and Fernandez, when they've come in the team, have helped it slightly. But I still think they're well in the fight, West Ham. And I think if they got a few injuries, and say Jared Bowen went down injured, I think you could see a real problem for them. I also think as well they've picked up results in recent weeks with Callum Wilson up front. We know Callum Wilson's injury record. He will get injured and go down at some point. And if he goes down injured for West Ham, I think that they could be in serious bother still. I still believe that. Anyway, let's get into some of your points. I never thought I'd say this, but I think we need points from Liverpool game and hope West Ham lose the next two. Well, that's what I mean. If we nick some points in the next two games and say if we nick a win in the next two, which might happen. I mean, as I said, if Chelsea go down to 10 men, we could quite easily win that game. If Liverpool look like Liverpool today, I think we can get that Liverpool team, and I think we can win the game. Genuinely, I thought they were completely there for the taking and offered nothing really up front. But I think Liverpool will be better when we play them in truth. But as I said, I think there is something there for us, and I don't see West Ham picking up points. So it's all good saying Leeds United not going to win points, but West Ham, where are West Ham getting points in them games? If we had them games coming up, we'd all be saying we are knackered. But at least in our next four, we've got Palace at home and Brentford away, which I'd argue are better than any of them games that they're playing. Like they've got Man United have just won, Brighton who were 5th in the league away, Villa who were 3rd, and Man City away, which we know is one of the most trickiest games in the league. So, yeah. I think I'm more optimistic coming out of this weekend by far than I was going into it. I think that's without a shadow of a doubt. My only worry is I can see them spending big in January. I struggle to see that with us. Yeah, I think maybe. But their signings do... their signings have not been that good for a long time, mate. So it doesn't exactly mean that they're going to get a lot better. They might be, but I'm not sure... we'll see, won't we? I think the proof will be in the pudding come the end of the window. BMG says, I do think Forest are better with Dyche, but they could still get sucked into it. I think Forest will be fine, mate. I think Forest will finish about 14th, 13th, 12th, something like that. I think come the end of the season, there'll be 10 points at least between them and the relegation zone. I don't think they'll be anywhere near it. There's also the other thing, by the way, that Man City could get. There's still this 115 charges. You never know. They get a relegation on the CV. It could be if Wolves go down, Burnley go down, and Man City go down. You never know. Probably not. Let's be honest. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. But as I said, I think when you look at that table now, you look at it and go, do you not feel? I just think it's starting to take shape. Easy says, 6 months into Farke becoming manager, I'd seen enough. I wanted him out ever since. Watching him struggle against poor championship sides told me all I need to know. You just don't like Farke, do you, mate? Let's be honest. You don't like him. And by the sound of it, as I said, you want him out from 6 months in. I think you were wrong on that because he got us promoted. So I think the proof is in the pudding that we got promoted. So he did work in the end. Sunderland will be still around 15th, 14th. Everton showed no and looked awful against Newcastle. I think Everton will definitely have enough. And Sunderland keep proving me wrong. If Sunderland had lost this weekend, I'd have looked at it and gone, maybe they could start to get sucked into it. But when they went 2-0 down, me and my brother sort of looked at each other and thought, that's interesting. There could be something there. And then they pull it round and win 3-2, and I'm just like, well, fair enough. Like they're not going down. They've just got too many points now. They're on 22 points. A lot does seem to be riding on this 3-5-2. Will he use it? And if so, will it work? It seems to be the hope that a lot of us cling to. It's not just that, mate. I think part of this is that if he goes back to a 3-5-2, or if he goes to 3-5-2, and even if it doesn't work, I think what I'm excited about more than anything is I've seen now, in my opinion, that second half against Man City, there is something there with this Leeds United team that I didn't think was there. I think we showed a better level performance than I think this Leeds United team, in my opinion, could get to. I thought what we did against Man City was really impressive in that second half, really impressive. And now I think that if it doesn't work with Farke, even if we get a new manager in, I can see this team having good enough attributes to stay in the league, which, if I'm being honest, going into the game at the weekend, I didn't think. So that is the nice thing I'm seeing. Also against Chelsea, by the way, Caicedo got sent off today, so he's missing. So again, when we talk about a physical battle, their best physical battler in the midfield, Caicedo's out now because he got sent off against Arsenal. So he's missing. And they've obviously just played a real grudge match today against Arsenal. Are they going to be all there when it comes to Leeds on Wednesday? You'd have to hope not. And maybe we can get something. And Maresca will rotate because he rotated at Burnley away, so they might not be playing their full strength 11. So we can beat Chelsea at home. I'm not saying we will, but we can get something. Being brutally honest, I think he stays with the 4-3 against Chelsea. I agree, Ollie. I actually do. Sunderland will be around 50. Oh, I've read that bit. I've said for a while that Sunderland could get sucked in, but they're probably done enough already, even if they have a major collapse. Yeah, I think they have, mate. I think 22 points, you're looking at it going, they only need about 15 more points and they're definitely sound. Like, And I just don't see them now not getting them points. I think it's going to happen. They had to lose at the weekend. Like, it almost feels like with, and I thought this a few weeks ago, like it always feels like with Sunderland, you think, oh, they might start to get sucked into it. Like going into that Chelsea game, they were like, all right, they've got points, but now they've got a really hard run. Go in this Chelsea game, they go 1-0 down after like 5 minutes, you're thinking, all right, here we go. They lose that game and you think, wow. And then they win that game and you're like, oh, God. And then it's sort of, you get dragged into it again and they don't pick up good results in the next few and you're like, oh, something could happen. They go 2-0 down against Bournemouth, you're like, wow, this is really on. And then they win 3-2 and you're like, oh, never mind. And I feel like it's going to be constant like that all season where we're just like, they might be in, no, they're not. And I think that's the same with a few other teams as well. Like I think Fulham, for the last few weeks, you've looked at it and gone, they might get dragged in. They might get dragged in. Then they beat Sunderland and then they beat Spurs and you're like, oh, maybe not. But the benefit is West Ham are still there, people. West Ham are still there. Easy says, good thing about you, Scott, is you do change your mind, which is credit to you. I'd like to think I do, mate. Obviously, naturally, I've got bias in terms of like, look, everyone's got their own opinion on certain things, and you sort of see it the way you do. But I saw something in the second half, as I said, that I just didn't think we had in the locker. To be honest, when I look back, I probably saw that a bit in the Everton game in the first half as well, and I probably saw it in the Bournemouth game for about sort of 30-40 minutes in the game as well, where we played a spell of play that I thought was probably above our level. So I think as I said, I'm definitely more optimistic now than I was at the start of the weekend, which is mad considering we lost. But the fact that West Ham lost, if West Ham had won today, I'd have been really on the floor. This stream would have been awful. But they lost, I'm thinking they're still crap. We look like we've got something. We look like there's still a lot of fight in the tank. And I think what we have as well is what West Ham don't have as much. I think this team's got a lot of fight in it. I really do. As I said, we were 2-0 down at the Etihad. And we'd already lost 5-0 away at Arsenal so far this season. And you're looking at it going, they could easily throw the towel in at half-time, easily. And we could come out and lose 5 and 6-0 here. Genuinely, we've done it already this season. But it was nice to see that we had that huge fight in the second half, because I don't think West Ham have as much fight in them as we do. I really don't think they do. I think they've got more quality than we have, but I think we've got more of a fight in us. And I think that could be interesting. It would seem crazy for Farke to go with a 4-3. He must know that everyone will turn against him if he goes 4-3 and we lose. Having seen how well we did in the 3-5-2. I know, mate, but I just won't be surprised. I almost want to do a stream at 7. Should I do a stream at 7 PM when the lineups come out on the Wednesday? Because honestly, I don't really do match reactions, but what they call watch-alongs. But I could do a sort of not a prediction show, but almost a lineup review when it comes out. Because honestly, if he plays 4-3-3. To be honest, I probably shouldn't, because I might not have a camera anymore or a room, because I might be smashing it to pieces. So, you know. I didn't watch the West Ham game, but it's very reassuring that they're still crap. Did Somerville play? No, he didn't play, mate. No, he didn't. I don't know what's up with Somerville. He wasn't playing at all. But they honestly, mate, they were awful. Like, they were bad. Like, as I said, because it was Liverpool and the name of Liverpool was there, I think everyone looks at it and goes, oh, well, yeah, Liverpool obviously on a bad run, but can beat you on it easily on any day. Liverpool did not play like Liverpool at all. They weren't back. Like, they didn't play well. Like, they were solid at the back. They put Gomez to right back, and they basically went, let's make sure we get a clean sheet here. And if we get a clean sheet, because we've got a few decent players going forward, we'll probably score a goal. And they basically sat in, and eventually they ended up they scored a goal, obviously, through Isak, a really good finish. But West Ham, honestly, mate, offered nothing. And as I said, I was interested to see if I just saw it and maybe it was a deluded self, but I watched West Ham fans after, a number of different accounts of them talk about their thing, and they said it was just completely lifeless. Whereas I think Forest away we were lifeless, Brighton away we were lifeless. I don't think we've been lifeless too often, whereas I think they've been lifeless a lot. Would not be against the Leeds Lens pre-game discussion at all. Maybe I should do it. The only thing with it, it's got no longevity, has it? Because if as soon as that lineup gets released, obviously it'll be interesting then. But as soon after the game kicks off, nobody who in 2 hours' time is going back and watching me react to the lineup. So I don't know, but maybe we could do it. We could do it. I might do a lineup reaction for about maybe 20 minutes. when it comes out at 7 p.m, maybe do 7 till 7:30, then cut it off. And then maybe I won't do an instant match reaction because I don't really like them. And then maybe I could do like, maybe jump on at like 10:30. So maybe do something like that. The good thing about a 3-5-2 is you can use the whole of the squad. With your 4-3-3, you can't. Yeah, I agree. I'm starting from the beginning, so don't let me down. Let me down, Reed. Paqueta is probably their best player, so it's good that he's got a red. Was it a straight red? No, mate. It was what should have happened actually in the Leeds game. He got 2 yellow cards for moaning. So he got a yellow card for moaning, and then literally, so he gets to be booked for moaning, and then he carries on having a go at the ref at the fact now he's been booked, and then he ends up getting another booking for moaning again at the ref in the same sequence. So he got booked on the 83rd and then sent off on the 84th minute. Like, he'd lost it. But he should have been sent off against Leeds for exactly the same thing. I'm pretty sure he got booked against Leeds for moaning. And I'm pretty sure in the match reaction we said that he should have been sent off again for moaning further. And what's interesting about the Paqueta thing as well is, if you check his Twitter page, and I had to check 3 times that it was actually his Twitter page, but on Twitter, he's posted saying that everyone's against me and that it's because of my betting scandal that it winds me up. And he basically took no accountability for the fact that he got sent off. And that makes me think that if he's in that situation again, it might just happen again. So hopefully that's a continue where he continually gets booked and sent off. So hopefully. Richie says evening 2-2, mate. Although we are going to wrap up the show there because we have done 50 minutes. And you know, it's Sunday evening. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks all for watching, as always. I shall see you tomorrow for 8 p.m. again, and we'll do some more Leeds United news. I don't quite know what's going to come out tomorrow, but we'll get something going. And also, I think I'm probably going to be on a show tomorrow as well, but I'll probably talk a bit about it, a different show as well after that, but I'll talk a bit about it more probably in tomorrow's show. But I will see you then, everybody. And it's been a great show this evening. So thanks all for watching, and I shall see you all later. Bye for now, everybody. Bye.